I have the honor to represent both the sponsor, the Debra Simon Foundation, and the advisory board of the Global Wellness Summit. This award honors an individual who has achieved excellence in the field of mental health and mental wellness. He has been a leader and innovator in wellness programs that help people thrive mentally. It honors also the legacy of Debra Simon, a woman who struggled with depression and finally lost her life to suicide. Her daughter, Lauren Wright, set up a foundation in her mother's name to honor this beautiful yet troubled soul. This year's recipient is proof positive that passion and commitment, and of course an extreme intellect, can change the world. Before I shall call this person to the stage to receive the award, let's hear from someone who knows him pretty well.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shauna Henry, and I'm Professor Jerry Bodyker's niece from Perth, Western Australia. My mother was the eldest of his three sisters, with an age gap of 21 years when Jerry was born, and I'm an only child, so we actually tend to regard each other as having more of a brother-sister relationship, since there's only 5 years between us. I've been asked to say a few words about Jerry, or Jared as I call him, and no, it's not because he's in trouble. I've just always called him that. You, his colleagues, his friends and associates would all know him through professional avenues, but may not know much about his early background. I have so much admiration for Jared. Having lost both parents before the age of 22, Jerry showed the resilience and strength to continue his studies, completing a master's degree in psychology and joining Community Welfare, which was a public service body here in Western Australia, where he quickly became the youngest director in the service. Of course, after that there was Harvard, Oxford, the World Health Organization, and many more, which time doesn't permit me to go into. Jerry has the gift of being able to communicate with everyone, whether it be the Aboriginal community in the Australian outback, where he spent a lot of his early days, or needy people on the streets doing it tough, or the elderly, young children, young adults. I mean, Jerry will talk to anyone, and he's always very interested in their stories and what's happened in their lives. He's such a compassionate person, always willing to listen without judgment and help if he is able. His qualities are numerous: a great sense of humour, which I'm sure many of you have shared in laughs and jokes over the years, not to mention the immense passion he has for his work, as well as patience and loyalty. Loyalty to friends and family, and I know for one that if I ever need him, I can just pick up the phone and I know he'll be there for me. So Jared, my big brother, we're so very proud of you, and I'm so very honoured to be able to share this wonderful and special occasion here with you in Singapore. Huge congratulations and thank you.
Well, there is not enough time, obviously, to list Professor Jerry Bodyker's accomplishments. His doctoral studies were at Harvard. He researches and advises on integrative medicine and wellness. He has researched and taught also in medical sciences worked as an adjunct professor also for epidemiology at Columbia University. He works with private sectors. He works with governments and organizations, including United Nations and WHO. Jerry chairs also, which is very important to us, one of the initiatives that Susie presented to you this morning, and obviously the Mental Wellness Initiative. And he still finds, believe it or not, time for his family, particularly for his beloved sister, who we just heard on the video. Now comes the surprise. Shauna flew here all the way from Perth, Australia, as a complete surprise to Jerry to be present for this very outstanding moment, I think, in his life. Shauna, please join me on the stage, wherever you are right now. it gives me deep personal pleasure to announce on behalf of the Advisory Board of the Global Wellness Summit the recipient of the Debra Simon Award for Leader in Furthering Mental Wellness, Professor Jerry Bodeker. We shouldn't forget the award. We're just kissing here. It's heavy. Be careful.
It's my morning workout.
You deserve it.
Thank you very much. Wow. What an amazing event. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have Shauna here. Shauna, as she said, we sort of consider each other brother and sister because we're only 5 years apart. But actually her mother, who was 21 years older than me, was my sister. And my parents had 2 houses next to each other, and when Shauna was a baby, they lived next door. And Shauna used to come to our house, undeterred by the gate, dug a little hole under the gate, would crawl under, stopping only to crunch a few snails on the way, and was part of our family all the time. Complete surprise and a joy. Thank you. What I'd like to say, I'd like to thank the board. I'd like to thank particularly my colleagues, the team of the Mental Wellness Initiative, who have worked so hard to really get our message out. I'd like to thank Susie particularly. Susie and I started a conversation before the Kitzbühel Summit in Austria about mental wellness, and I was saying to Susie, really, there's so much new research that's reconfiguring our understanding that we have to get out to the world. And we had a conversation about it, and Susie said, you talk about that now on stage. And I said, why don't we take this conversation on stage? Which we did, and there was such a positive response from the audience, from many of you here, that we said at the end of it, if this is the response, let's form a mental wellness initiative and let's pull all this together for a new understanding on human potential, what we can be and how we can get there. And that's really what this mental wellness initiative has been about. And I'd like to add a little note about Abraham Maslow, who we've heard about this morning a little bit, about self-actualization. Actually, in his last years, year and a half or so, his last stage that people don't really know much about was called self-transcendence, not self-actualization. It means going beyond the self, connecting with the forces that drive life. And that really, when we're working in the Mental Wellness Initiative, is what we see as what life can be. It's well described in Eastern thought. It's just touched on in Western thought by Maslow. And the difference is that Maslow and Erickson and Kohlberg and all the other theorists said, it's possible, but most people may not get to these higher stages of human experience. Eastern thought, and we're in Asia, we want to celebrate this, says it's not only possible, it's accessible, it's available to everyone who has a human nervous system with the right techniques. And that's what we've been trying to map. What are these techniques? What is the evidence? They're available to all. The human brain can grow throughout the adult lifespan, no limits. What are we capable of? We don't know. We probably will never know because infinity is really the answer. Thank you very much for this great honor.